So tomorrow, voters in Alaska and Wyoming are going to be heading to the polls for the state's primary elections. In Wyoming, Republican Congresswoman Liz Cheney will face off against challenger Harriet Hageman, who has won the support of former President Donald Trump. Chief election and campaign correspondent Robert Costa is in Jackson, Wyoming, with the latest on that race. Robert, good morning.
Good morning. Polls here in Wyoming show Congresswoman Cheney trailing her challenger by about 30 points. But the Congresswoman has long said that this fight is about more than the primary. And in the closing days, she is arguing that this contest is also a crossroads for her party and for the nation.
America cannot remain free if we abandon the truth. The lie that the 2020 presidential election was stolen is insidious.
Be it on the trail or as vice chair of the House committee investigating the January 6th attack on the Capitol,
President Trump summoned a violent mob and directed them illegally to march on the United States Capitol.
Congresswoman Liz Cheney has sounded an alarm about the former president's conduct. But in conservative Wyoming, that could come at a price.
We have a committee in Congress right now that they're focusing on something that happened 18 months ago. They're not focusing on the issues that are important to the people in Wyoming.
Attorney Harriet Hageman was once a Cheney ally, but in this contest she has embraced Trump and falsely called the 2020 election rigged, winning her a visit to a campaign rally in May.
Liz, you're fired. Get out of here.
If Cheney loses, she will be the 8th out of 10 Republicans who voted for Trump's second impeachment following the Capitol attack to be leaving Congress. 4 decided to retire. 3 have lost their primaries. Just 2 might be on the ballot in November. Cheney's father, Dick Cheney, who represented Wyoming for a decade before later serving as vice president, has jumped in as well, labeling Trump a threat to democracy.
He tried to steal the last election using lies and violence to keep himself in power after the voters had rejected him. He is a coward. A real man wouldn't lie to his supporters.
Even if she loses, the Congresswoman will stay on the scene. The January 6th committee continues its investigation, and she has told me that she has not ruled out a run for higher office, including a 2024 presidential bid, a possible run that could put her against Trump.
Well, that is so interesting. I mean, the phrase, even if she loses, just a few years ago would be unthinkable. Liz Cheney it was always a lock for her there. What are the polls saying? What are her chances?
She has an uphill climb. This is a very difficult race. It's a ruby red state. Her father represented Wyoming for a decade, 79 to 89. And then you see in this state a real drift toward the Trump wing of the Republican Party. They have not gone along with Congresswoman Cheney. Polling shows her down by about 30 points. That's public polling. Private polling pretty much corresponds to that. So this moment out here in Wyoming is not just about the race. It's also about this moment for the Republican Party. What will it say about the party now and the party's future?
And that's sort of the question that I was going to ask you. It was that list of lawmakers that you showed who either chose to leave politics or were shown the door. It's really, really telling. But if Liz Cheney wins, could this win make sort of a stronger statement than some of the other losses?
Perhaps. It's very unlikely at this point. Even Cheney's allies are not expecting her to win. If she does win, it will be because she's able to bring together a coalition of Democrats with Republicans in this state to change their registration, to try to give her a boost. But this is a very sparsely populated state, Wyoming, a beautiful state, but sparsely populated. Not a ton of Democrats coming over at this point. But you never know. As I always say in politics, assume nothing about how this plays out. But for Cheney, it's about what does she want to do now, win or lose? Does she want to run for president? Does she want to be someone who's just on Capitol Hill finishing up the January 6th committee? It'll be interesting to follow her win or lose after Tuesday night.
Certainly. What other races are you watching?
There are a few other primaries. I'm especially watching Alaska. Sarah Palin, the 2008 Republican vice presidential nominee, who in a sense partially kick-started this rise of nationalism and populism inside the GOP, that outside establishment force that then coalesced into the Tea Party in 2009 and 2010, and ultimately, in a sense, led to the Trump movement in 2015, 2016. She's back. She's facing a primary in Alaska, expected to do pretty well. And it will be intriguing to see if Sarah Palin, who had been off the political radar for so long, now returns to the political arena, this time potentially as a member of the House of Representatives.
Wow. All right, Robert, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Be sure to stream CBS News for all of the latest primary updates. Coming up tomorrow, Red and Blue will have an hour-long special focusing on some of the major races happening nationwide. You can stream that at 8 p.m. Eastern right here on CBS News.